Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this third installment of the State of Black Business Report, created and delivered by State of Black Arizona and the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, GPEC. I am beyond honored and privileged to be your moderator today. We've got a dynamic group of panelists that are going to share with you the actions that can be taken based on this incredible data that's been created. Just some quick housekeeping. Today, everyone is going to be muted. For our panelists, please remember that you are in control of your own microphone and your own video. So if you are off screen, no one can see you. And if you have noise in the background, please be courteous and mute. We have closed the general chat and asked that our audience provide their questions through the Q&A portion of the Zoom channel, and those will then be edited and brought to my attention. So if time permits, we can include them in the Q&A when we go to the general panel. Today we have with us, of course, Ms. Taniqua Broughton, CEO of the State of Black Arizona. We have Fiona Onyango, Research Analyst at GPEC. We have Mikkel Quarles, Managing Director and Head of Diverse Strategies for JP Chase. We have Dr. Velma Traham, with the CEO of ThinkZilla Consulting Group and the founder of the Millionaire Mastermind Academy. And we have Nathan Harris, General Partner with Immersion and CEO with Ease. Very excited to get this event started, and I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Taniqua Broughton for welcome remarks.
Thank you, Robin, for the introduction. I am so excited about today. I also want to thank and express my appreciation to Chris Camacho, who unfortunately couldn't join us due to international travel, but his ongoing support for our partnership means so much. So the strong relationship that we've developed over the years with GPEC and all of the staff, I want to let you know that we truly value you. Representing the State of Black Arizona's board chair, Will James, along with our board of directors and staff, we are excited to present this third edition of the State of Black Business Report. I have heartfelt thank yous that go out to our sponsors, JP Chase and Salt River Project, as well as our collaborating partners, the Black Chamber of Arizona, Blacks Friday, Immersion, Millionaire Mastermind Academy, and the Arizona Community Foundation's Black Philanthropy Initiative. Your unwavering support means a lot as we continue this endeavor. During this month, we recognize and honor the resilience, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit that contributes to economic equality and equity in the business sector. We commemorate the achievements of Black entrepreneurs, innovators, and visionaries who have left a lasting impact on society. Their journeys have been pivotal for gathering and synthesizing this necessary data. The Black and African American community is a rapid growing demographic in Arizona and plays a crucial role in shaping the state's future economy. Investing in Black businesses benefits everyone in the community. This collective effort involves entities such as government, non-governmental economic development authorities, community development organizations, financial institutions, investors, workforce development organizations, small business organizations, and leaders to essentially shift the paradigm and meet the needs of the community. By working together, we can bring a significant change. As we gear up to reveal the findings for our 3.0 report, it's important to recognize the actionable steps taken by community leaders and organizations in response to our previous reports. Their efforts have illuminated gaps, challenges, and most importantly, opportunities within the state of Arizona. These intentional investments of political, social, and business capital have contributed to our primary goal of nurturing a thriving Black business economy. On the screen, The slide will show some logos representing several collaborating organizations, local governments, and nonprofits that are dedicated to closing the gaps and addressing the community needs. We know there are many others that have begun this journey before we launched our report, but today we want to recognize those that we do know. The Black Philanthropy Initiative in the state of Black Arizona and its Black Business Database is showcasing its first data set in this report. Arizona State University's Education Outreach and Student Services Department, the Changemaker Series, continued dialogues and opportunities to think about how to contribute to the business ecosystem. The city of Mesa had a manufacturing program. The city of Tempe's BIPOC manufacturing program. Millionaire Mastermind Academy's Impact AZ 2025 is a supplier diversity readiness program, which you will learn more details about later. The National Coalition for 100 Black Women's Pitch Perfect event for entrepreneurs under the age of 18. And the last row of logos is Foresight Foundation's Reach 2 program, a consortium of Black, Brown, and women business owners in tech, healthcare, and real estate. Tempe Chamber of Commerce, National Coalition for 100 Black Women, and Wells Fargo will be launching a grant funding program for Black women-owned business later this month. Please use your reaction button right now to take a moment to celebrate these efforts that have happened thus far. I want to thank everybody for their contributions. Today's report focuses on trends in firm ownership, particularly women-owned businesses, venture capital, and microlending as sub-sectors under the umbrella of access to capital. Additionally, the report highlights ongoing initiatives in Arizona benefiting the Black community. We will explore opportunities in supplier diversity, upskilling, and the alignment with growing industries, increasing resources for small businesses, and the power of local and non-local collaboration. I am pleased to introduce you to Fiona Ongongo, our research analyst who will present our latest report. Fiona joined GPEC in March 2022, serving as their research analyst. Her role involved strategic initiatives, business development, and competitive programs. Previously at Goldman Sachs, she mitigated operational risks as a securities lending operation analyst. Fiona also contributed as a research consultant and economist at Stanford University for the Gender Integration Initiative at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Fiona is fluent in Swahili and is excited to explore Arizona's dining scene. Let's please welcome Fiona Ongongo.
Hello. So I'll take us through the reports. And first off, we will go through the business support ecosystem. And this report does a really great job at highlighting the opportunities for growth in our region. We emphasize how collaboration is bearing fruit and what we should look out for now that we have a background and an increased awareness on challenges that Black businesses face in the region. Particularly when you look at this support ecosystem, you'll see all players that contribute in various ways in supporting individuals and Black businesses and minority businesses in the region, whether it's the government, whether it's regional banks, local banks, workforce development organizations, small business development organizations. We all come together for us to continue growing the ecosystem and to grow businesses and individuals. Next slide. On farms and business density parity, achieving business density parity is reaching a point where the Black business ownership rate is equal to the share of Black residents in the metro area. Ideally, we want higher proportions of businesses to the population, and this is because you could have a high number of businesses in your metro and not the highest percentage of proportional representation. We use the small business equity tool, and this equity tool is facilitated by PAC 1555. We did a comparison between Greater Phoenix Metro and Tucson Metro to see how we fare. Comparatively, when you look at the jobs created and the number of businesses that have been started in Greater Phoenix as compared to the jobs and businesses in Tucson, we might say, based on the variations in the business landscape, the market, and the population, among other factors, Tucson Metro is doing slightly better than Greater Phoenix in terms of business density parity. The question, therefore, that we should ask ourselves, in whatever capacity you're in, whether you're a business owner, whether you're looking to start your business, whether you are a leader in the region, how can we learn from each other? How can Greater Phoenix learn from Tucson? How can Tucson learn from Greater Phoenix so that all of us can be on the same page and no one is left behind? Next slide. As for women-owned businesses, the statistics on this slide are so far my favorite of all the data I've pulled. And this is because even though the data is a national representation of women-owned businesses, it bears so much hope for all Black women who would want to start a business in the future or who are in the process of starting businesses. We are starting more businesses. We are leading the pack. And most recently, Arizona was ranked the 4th best state for women-led startups by Merchant Maverick. The disadvantage, though, is that our demographic lags in revenue, it lags in profit, it lags in payroll, and the survival rate by the 5th year is very low as compared to other demographics. Keeping in mind that we are focusing on opportunities for growth, I think the assignment for us is to do an audit of how we can navigate the systems in our environment, the systems in our markets, the business environment, so that Black women can be the ultimate game changers in the entrepreneurial landscape. Next slide. So across board, younger, smaller revenue firms are more likely than their counterparts to rely on funding from an owner's personal savings or funding from friends, funding from family, as a women-owned firms and owners by people of color. A little bit of background that Taniqua also mentioned is that Greater Phoenix is one of the fastest growing regions in the nation. And it is for this reason that we'd like to take advantage of opportunities that arise and continue to emphasize the importance of access to capital for the very small businesses in our region, so that we can stop having these barriers to entry when you have an idea that you want to turn into a business. Next slide. On access to capital, we broke it down into two types. We looked at VC funding, and I'll talk about microlending. On the VC forum, we did an analysis of funding rounds in Angel and Seed A to E for all companies. And kindly note that data for these two charts you're seeing isn't broken down by demographics. The reason why we didn't break it down into demographics or by demographics is that we wanted everyone to see the overall picture of what data shows on the level of VC funding in Greater Phoenix as compared to the Greater LA area and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex between January 2018 and January 2023. And since Greater Phoenix is growing rapidly, when looking at this slide, I want you to take the Greater LA area and the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex as metro guides, in the sense that how can we reach Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex level of VC funding and surpass them? And at the same time, how can we learn more on what LA is doing and how are they doing it differently? And how are businesses that are based in LA securing VC funding and etc.? I won't talk too much about VC funding because Nathan will take us through the VC funding section shortly. The alternative to VC funding, if you're a business owner or looking to start a business, is microlending. It's mostly done by CDFIs or lenders who are willing to work with micro businesses. Even though the amounts disbursed are usually smaller, they usually have better terms of credit that are more favorable if you don't have a lot to start with. On the report, we have highlighted various programs that have been established and are working with community members to make a difference for these small businesses. And keep in mind that in Arizona, there are already existing programs that are working towards changing the terms of lending in the Valley. Next slide. Black-owned businesses in Arizona are very strongly represented in personal services, food services, home-based consumer product manufacturing, and retail trade. A lot of effort was put into coming up with this database, and a huge shout out goes out to SBSZ, Black Friday, and the Black Philanthropy Initiative. Since launching in 2020, Black Friday has identified over 1,200 Black-owned businesses in Arizona, and as we speak, they're working towards disaggregating data by clusters, e.g. women-owned, veteran-owned, and they're really doing a good job. These businesses that they did a survey on and are collecting data on are located primarily in the state's two largest metro areas, and those are Greater Phoenix and the Tucson metro. And outside of Phoenix and Tucson proper, Black businesses are most concentrated in the East Valley suburbs of Tempe, Chandler, Scottsdale, and Mesa. Next slide. When we are talking about opportunities of growth, there's a wealth of information out there. This time, we specifically focused on upskilling. And when we are talking about upskilling, we are looking at it from an angle of whether you're an individual, a business owner, an employer, an employee, or you're just looking to move even to Arizona to start a business, you should always put yourself in a position of learning or willing to learn new skills so that you can stay up to date. And that way you get opportunities and you will be able to leverage anything that comes your way. As a region, we should focus our efforts in growing industries. We should increase facilitation and resources for small businesses while leveraging out-of-state connections and strategic partnerships. There's the Community Reinvestment Act, and all financial institutions have an obligation to fulfill aspects of the CRA. The best way to understand what CRA is and what the commitments are in the Valley or wherever you are in the US is to connect with local or regional community relations administrators so that you can learn more. As for supplier diversity, Dr. Velma will take us through it in a couple of minutes. Next slide. We always feature programs and businesses that are Black-owned in the Valley. There's a lot of information on this slide, but I'm highly encouraging all of us to go to the report, read through these programs that are featured so that you can get a better understanding of who they work with, in what part of Arizona they are in, how you stand to benefit from the programs if you're thinking of starting a business, or if you're already running a business, or if you're just seeking knowledge for future purposes. Next slide. Our summary emphasizes the importance of all aspects on access to capital and the role it plays in building businesses and wealth. Business owners need to understand their readiness for different types of capital. Perhaps you're not suited at the moment to seek angel funding, but you're suited to get a microloan from a local CDFI. So just weigh your options, see where you are, seek advice and guidelines from all players in the ecosystem, and then you will know how to go about the access to capital aspect for your business. At GPEC, we will continue supporting the community by conducting more research for whatever's necessary so that all players make data-informed decisions. And lastly, we cannot emphasize the role of partnerships and collaborations. And this, I believe, is the key to success in Arizona. An example, closer home, is ThinkZilla Consulting. Dr. Velma's company was located by GPEC to the Greater Phoenix Metro in 2021. And within 2 years, she's already changing the dynamics of Black businesses in the region through collaboration with the Black Chamber and the Millionaire Mastermind Academy and JP Morgan Chase. So she will speak more to this, but just keep in mind, collaborations and partnerships are the way to go. Finally, do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or you would like clarifications on data points highlighted in the report. Because at the end of the day, we are all here to guide and help in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Fiona, thank you so much. This is such incredible data. I really commend GPEC, the state of Black Arizona, in continuing to compile this extremely valuable information, as well as the great work that's being done by BPI, as well as Black's Friday. Just incredible, and it's exciting to watch the Black's Friday database continue to grow. This is how we're going to be able to target more Black-owned businesses to support our communities. So we're going to jump right into some questions. We're going to start with Dr. Velma Traham. Dr. Traham, with the Impact AZ 2025 initiative in mind, how can we strengthen the infrastructure aimed at reducing the wealth gap?
Thank you, Robin, for that question. I think that the first thing we can do is really look at identifying supplier diversity as a key aspect of business operations. Having supplier diversity as a key aspect of business operations will enable us to close the racial wealth gap. Supplier diversity is a business model that's been used now for decades to really help to move businesses forward, diverse businesses forward. I know from a ThinkZilla perspective, 12 years ago, we started ThinkZilla, pretty much bootstrap ThinkZilla. And 3 years into the company, we started to do business in the public and private sector. And that's really how we've been able to help to close the racial wealth gap in creating opportunities for more diverse businesses to do business with public and private companies. Oftentimes, entrepreneurs and business owners congregate with other entrepreneurs. Corporate executives and organizations congregate with corporate organizations. And so we need to do more collaborating with the diverse business community. And second, I want to add to that. I think the next thing, Robin, is really defunding some of the programs that are not making a direct impact to our communities. And when I say direct impact, I'm speaking really holding the hands of the business, or not necessarily holding the hands, but they need the technical support to scale their business. How can we get them to a space of getting access to more contracting opportunities, and not just getting access, but actually winning contracts? It's a process, it's a business development process. And if we don't do that, again, that's a direct service to those, to the businesses that we serve. So defunding some of the programs that are getting funded that are not making a direct impact to move the economy forward.
Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to give you a follow-up question, Dr. Traham. So Arizona's resilience during the pandemic has been noted. We really put forth the effort to come through this pandemic. But drawing on your experience as a corporate consultant, ThinkZilla is a corporate consulting firm. What are the opportunities and obstacles related to securing supplier diversity contracts?
Yes. Well, some of the opportunities, the first opportunity, obviously, it is an opportunity for corporate to really engage in terms of innovating by diversifying their supply chain. The second opportunity is just, a great way to expand business and also creating that economic impact. When we look at one of the data statistics from the State of Black report from 2022, it reveals a need for creating more employer firms. So with supplier diversity, that is an opportunity to create more employer firms by giving diverse businesses opportunities to scale their business, create job opportunities in their local communities through the supplier diversity model. Some of the challenges, I think, is really understanding. So one of the challenges is corporations having a dedicated supplier diversity leader. In order to move supplier diversity forward, you need a leader, you need someone over that department, and you also need to corporations need to establish a baseline and measurement of success through diverse spend as a percentage of an overall spend. Tracking the data and really being intentional with engaging diverse businesses. Oftentimes I hear, as a consultant and consulting organizations and government entities across the nation, I hear, we can't find Black businesses. Well, they're out there and they're here in Arizona. And so making an intentional effort to engage them and to also be a resource to them is very, very important.
Thank you very much for that. And I look forward to your input when we go to the all panel questions as well. We're going to move over to Nathan Harris now. Nathan, can you define the concept of a venture-ready business?
Yeah, I think that the concept of being venture ready is a layered concept, because there's the things that venture capitalists look for at different stages of a business. So I would call it being stage ready, right? Stage relevant and stage ready. So at the earliest stages of a startup, to be venture ready, the biggest thing is the founder ready, connected, and do they have a good deal and an opportunity that really can scale? Because you have to think about the concept of why venture capitalists are engaging in this space in the first place. Venture capital was originally created to help bring back junk portfolios and junk bonds as a rate of rebound rapidly. So the concept was, let's invest in something that we can disrupt the market with, we'll get a high level of growth, and then we'll sell it off to a buyer. So if you don't have a business model that is ready for that, you don't have the wherewithal for that, there's ways to go about it, but you shouldn't start raising venture capital. So you're not looking to build a legacy business with venture. You're looking to scale fast and return a lot of capital in a short period of time. So to be venture ready, you have to understand what corporate organizational type you want to be. Not an LLC, you have to be a C Corp. I mean, just so much governance that you've got to get through. So one of the biggest things that we want to focus on is getting people understanding what the stages of it are. So step number one, understanding your business model, your TAM, your sum, your overall market opportunity. And then from there, understanding how do you identify what a VC is looking for? Do you even match their investment thesis, right? Each investment fund has different goals. They have different IRR targets, but a lot of that just takes time and research. And there's a book I tell everyone that they should read. It's The Secrets of Sand Hill Road. And it really will teach you how to understand the landscape that you're going into. The next thing is understanding the market conditions. So the current market is really tough to raise venture capital. You have to have a really strong base. You have to have more traction, more runway, because a lot of fear in the market. So really want to think about path to profitability and revenue opportunity in those given years, and then really modeling that out. So it's a lot of steps that go into being venture ready, but it's really around financial modeling, knowing your market, and are you the founder that can really see it through, and can really build a team around it that can handle all the speed and governance that comes with it.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive. I appreciate that. Now, obviously, we're hearing a lot about the surge in semiconductor activities in the greater Phoenix area, Taiwan Semiconductor, and so many others. With this surge of semiconductor activity in greater Phoenix, have there been any noteworthy Black-owned businesses that have emerged?
So through the research that we've had, we haven't seen Black organizations thrive as much from a technological perspective within the greater Phoenix area. Largely, this isn't because they aren't out there. It's more of just about one of the things that I've always known is that all of us are created with equal amount of intellect. We're not all created with the same amount of access and opportunity. So one of the biggest things that I would say is, a lot of what we've seen in terms of minority companies being able to keep up, it's just that not being able to be in the room as much. So we're setting initiatives that's in place right now to be able to change that. So there are a lot of things, if you follow the EDA grants programs, there's a huge focus right now about how do we make sure that people from different categories are able to keep up with the rapid speed of innovation taking place right here in the Valley. So when you hear things like supplier diversity that we just talked about, that's a really good way to get in with a lot of this growth. But there's also another route. So if you're really interested in advanced manufacturing, edge AI, there's really, really easy ways to track what's happening in my community and how do I get involved in some of the innovation labs that are happening around the Valley. There are tons of grant programs that if you're a small business and you're looking to engage in new economic development opportunities, Build Back Better grants, et cetera, you could apply for those, right? I mean, they come out of so many different groups, from the Department of Commerce to the Census Bureau. And that's a way to get in first with some non-dilutive capital and to be able to see, does my startup's goals align with the state? Because that's one of the things that I learned when coming from the Midwest to Silicon Valley and then here, is that if you're building a startup in a state that doesn't champion that business model, you're going to have a harder time because all your customers are going to be from outside of your community. So I think that what you do here is lean into what we are doing is semiconductors, our chip manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, ag tech if you're out in Tucson, and start seeing if your startup matches those things and then figuring out how you can get involved. And then you'll be able to get more support from the state and the people that are within it so you can get a part of this boom.
Thank you. That's those are incredible insights. We're going to move forward to Mikkel Quarles. How can large corporations like JP Morgan Chase contribute directly to the growth of the local Black business economy?
Yeah, Robin, I think it's a great question. And first off, I'm just happy to be here and really feel like it's a privilege to be a part of the conversation. And, when I think about businesses, I'm going to completely digress for 30 seconds. I apologize. The moment where like a business owner says, Lord, do it for me, right? And we decide that what we're asking and expecting that is delivered for us as an institution are different, then we need to understand that like we are asking for a special call out. Fiona's already talked about supply chain. Nathan's talked about, VC investment. Those are all unique opportunities that would not be common for every business owner on this call today. And so we need to make sure we understand and set a true platform for everyone to understand what their individual opportunities are. And then the second piece is, I heard this song that said, teach me how to receive every blessing. Right. And so if you combine those things, I'm saying, Lord, do it for me. I'm asking for a specific call out, but I'm also saying, teach me how to do every blessing. Okay, so that's my 30 seconds. All right. So Robin, back to your question. As my representation of JP Morgan Chase, I lead our diverse business strategies. And in that work, I'm very specifically and keenly focused on the way that we approach and engage and lead and change market opportunities and access for businesses of color, specifically Black-owned businesses, specifically in Arizona. And so if you think about that, right, we've been in Arizona as an institution for over 120 years. So a lot of folks would say, yeah, but Mikkel, I haven't seen you, right? So that's number one. And then I would tell you, oh, well, that's weird because I got over 8,000 employees in Arizona, right? And they would say, yeah, Mikkel, but I still haven't seen you. And I would say, well, we got 138 branches, we got 150,000 small business clients. And they would say, yeah, Mikkel, but I haven't seen you. So Robin, I think a part of the answer to the question is, if the institution exists and our practices haven't been great, hold us accountable. But a part of holding us accountable is remaining engaged with us. If you tell me you're holding me accountable to do something different and then turn a blind eye, as I finally say, hey, I heard you and we will do something different, and then you don't know that I'm doing it, then no one is benefiting from the effort that we've made to hear and respond to the ask from the community. So let me give you an example. And I'm going to be quick. So Jose Yanez and Ashley Kelly are two senior business consultants that we have there in the Phoenix metro area. They provide one-on-one coaching and support in support of small business. And we can go into a lot of discussions around what that means, but I will make it very simple. In our focus to do something differential in communities of color, we've changed our lending practices. We've changed our engagement model. We've changed our supply chain initiatives. We've made commitments around all those things that equated to a $30 billion commitment nationally. That was essentially to say in home ownership and in small business and affordable housing and all these things that we know are critical to our communities, we're going to change the game. And we've done that. We've changed our lending practices. So to simplify what that means, we will require less documentation. We will respond to your credit request in a faster time period. And we have increased the percentage of majority minority consumers and applicants that get approved from Chase by double digits in our approval rate improvements over time. So like, those are the things that I would tell you, very broadly speaking, that we've done to make a difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That kind of leads me to my follow-up question. So addressing the traditional lending stereotypes, what are some of the persistent misconceptions regarding lending, and how can they be dispelled?
Easy. So if we go back to venture capital, 0.05% of borrowers nationally, regardless of race, get VC funding. We talk a lot about it, but it's not like this is not like the wave of the future, if you will, right? And on average, you're talking about a $10,000 ask that an organization is seeking, and we're talking about VC funding as the solution. 77% of small businesses nationally rely on their personal savings to start their business. So why does that matter for us? Well, because of the racial inequities that have happened in our communities over time, the lack of home ownership, the lack of retirement savings, the lack of insurance policies that ensured that the next generation would be in a better position than the previous, prevents us from being in the financial position to be sustainable in a model that says, well, 77% of national small business organizations start with their personal savings to launch their business. And then here's the thing that I think, Robin, is an interesting part for us. Like when I actually spend time with business owners, I asked this question of a group of folks one day, and I said, hey guys, let's just talk about why you started your business, right? And I had a group of folks that said they started for this reason or that reason. And then the second question I asked was, and aspirationally, what are you trying to accomplish? And I asked it in it's like either you get to select A or B. A, you just want to replace the income that you had from your previous employer and are not trying to be a CEO of an organization, but just want to be your own person and run your own business. Or B, you want to take what you've learned, you understand there's a niche and product market fit, an opportunity in the community to do something different. And I want to be a CEO. I don't want to do this day to day all the rest of my life, Mikhail. I want to start here so I can figure it out. Okay, so when I did the research, I realized, 30% of startups with 2 or more founders in partnership, they raise more capital than an individual founder, right? So as we make the decision to just say, hey, I'm going to hustle and grind, no disrespect for that person with that aspiration, but that's my goal, right? Well, statistically, you're also saying, I'm going to be less likely to get the capital I need, because from a representation standpoint, the capital goes to those that have strategic partnerships and initiatives that allow them to scale and grow, right? Fiona talked about getting in the contract piece. the scalability of that is all that matters as you get contracts, right? As you decide that you want to take this business, you want to be a CEO, you want to be the CFO, whatever that is. Those are the things that drive those outcomes. And lastly, I would tell you this. When you think about all of the things that we're trying to accomplish as a network of community and organization with passion and with established credibility and influence, the one thing that still always matters is, can you measure your business's performance? Can you tell me why your business is greater this year than last? It's not necessarily about your financial statements as a representation for a lending opportunity, because guess what? If you want a $250,000 loan or less from us, we may not even ask for tax returns today, right? So that's not the question. The question is, do you understand the financial position of your business? And do you understand your cost of goods sold? And do you understand your leverage position? Do you understand, based on your industry, how those things are actually good or better than the standard to make you the most appropriate place where additional capital or external investment should be made? And that's the part that, like, I really want to challenge us to do and think about more. And that's where, you know, going back to the beginning, that's where Jose and Ashley like spend a lot of time talking to business owners in Arizona to help them to think about, you know, from a one-on-one coaching experience perspective, what that means individually for their organization. And we do that in, you know, we're at 21, but we're going to 30 cities across the country, and we will mentor over 5,000 businesses nationally this year, having this exact conversation. And this is where I know and believe that we'll make a difference.
Nikhil, thank you so much for that. We're going to circle back to Dr. Traham. I know she has a presentation that she can share, but I wanted to talk about this. So Dr. Traham, you tuned into last year's report after learning about the challenges facing Black entrepreneurs in Arizona, and decided to take action and expanded your Millionaire Mastermind Academy to our region. I know that you have already seen enormous success in Atlanta, Houston, and Florida with this program, but you expanded here. As the founder of the Millionaire Mastermind Academy, and through your work with ThinkZilla, you continue to educate and support women and minority business owners across the country. I know you have a presentation to share, and we're excited to see that.
Thank you, Robin. So we created Impact AZ as a direct response to the State of Black Business report. Impact AZ is obviously new to the state of Arizona, but the impact and the model is a proven model that we've been able to garner great results and impact from across the nation. One of the data points in the 2022 State of Black report reveals a need for creating more employer firms. And it also revealed that too many Black-owned businesses are systemically cut off from the capital needed to scale. So Impact AZ 2025 was created to address the urgent need to close the racial wealth gap here in Arizona. And I thank you, Robin Reed and the Black Chamber, for collaborating with us to launch the largest supplier diversity readiness program here in the state. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about the first quarter impact, as we're all talking about moving the economy forward and addressing the need to close the racial wealth gap. I want to dig into a little bit more on what we're actually doing to do that. Next slide. Impact AZ has 4 main key action groups, and that is collaborating with corporations with supplier diversity programs, financial institutions, government entities, and community collaborators. Impact AZ's mission is sustaining Arizona's minority-owned businesses and entrepreneurs by 2025. Corporations with supplier diversity programs are engaging with us to really help to move the diverse business community here forward. Next slide. So as we're all talking about increasing the number of employer firms, a recent survey result revealed that participating businesses in Impact AZ saw an average increase of 186 new customers within a 3-month span. We launched Impact AZ in April of this year, and it gives me great joy to really see the impact and see how the business owners here in Arizona are so excited to see a program like Impact AZ and how we are moving the needle forward. 80% of participants find that Impact AZ's program is satisfactory, and 28% of participants have seen an increase in revenue and strategic partnerships. And 22% of our businesses have managed to grow their workforce. Next slide. Talk a little bit about capacity building and contract acquisition. Through Impact AZ, 70% of businesses received technical assistance in strengthening contract infrastructure. When we talk about contract infrastructure, you know, how to partner with corporations, creating the income generations, creating their financial revenue models, making sure that they have exactly what's needed to scale their business, capability statements. In the first quarter, participants submitted 10+ requests for proposals, with 2 victories to date, totaling 1.3 million in wins through the NFL and Hilton. 6 participants reported securing new contracts or business opportunities from others within the accelerator program. Next slide. Community engagement, we've seen a lot of impact in terms of revenue growth, opportunities for networking through community engagement. Several of our participants have leveraged PR opportunities to expand reach, and 4 participants had an opportunity to vend for the Scottsdale Juneteenth program, in which they did have an opportunity to sell their product. I'd like to thank our title sponsor, JP Morgan Chase and Company, in collaboration with the Black Chamber, and I would like to thank our other partners as well. Could you go back? Thank you. Would like to thank all of our other partners as well. Next slide. Future growth and partnerships. Impact AZ is connecting Black-owned businesses to the capital and resources needed to combat social injustice and close the racial wealth gap through public and private partnerships. We have a venture partnership where we are educating and assisting business owners in preparing pitches for 100+ tech investors by the end of 2023. Next slide. Again, we'd like to thank our title sponsor, JP Morgan Chase. As Mikkel mentioned, Ashley and Jose, they've played a very pivotal role in mentoring and engaging our business ecosystem. And so we want to thank them for all they've done to uplift the Black business community. Next slide. Talk a little bit about some of 3 of our success stories. Obviously, this is something that I can ramble on and on about all day, but we want to highlight 3 of those businesses. Desert Lion Properties, construction management company, secured a national hotel chain contract with Hilton for $368,000. Impact AZ business owner Lifeology secured a $150,000 grant from the governor's office for a summer enrichment program to aid a welfare program for 200 youth ages 12 to 18. And then we have Innovate, an IT solution consulting firm that secured a $1 million NFL contract. All of these success stories will continue to allow us to address the urgent need to closing the racial wealth gap through supplier diversity and creating more employer firms. Next slide. On last week, we hosted a supplier diversity matchmaking event that connected Black-owned businesses with public and private procurement decision makers. That was a great event that we were really able to see great impact with the businesses and the procurement decision makers that also had an opportunity to share opportunities that they have available and that are coming down the pipeline. So they had an opportunity to exchange capability statements and to engage the diverse business community. Some of those companies that were there are here on the slide, and we want to thank them for participating in the supplier diversity matchmaking event. And we do have about 3 of those matchmaking events that are part of the Impact AZ program. Next slide. So for people that want to join our mission with Impact AZ and also ending poverty through entrepreneurship, we are in need of corporate and financial institution support and partnerships. We have local chamber partnership programs, and we have local city and government programs, and obviously individual donations. So thank you for this opportunity to present.
Dr. Traham, thank you so much. I'm very impressed by the results you're already seeing from the Impact AZ 2025 program. You know that you and I speak frequently, and I'm excited to actually see how this compares to some of the national numbers. I think that we might actually be outperforming some of the national numbers, and that is very exciting for what the future holds. I want to shift over to Nathan, if I may. So you're a general partner with Immersion, a company that focuses on corporate innovation, venture capital, and entrepreneurship development. You're also the CEO of a company, Ease, which upskills and connects highly qualified candidates with organizations in technology, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing. Can you share a little bit more about the world of venture capital and how Black businesses can leverage opportunities in that space?
Yeah, I think the world of venture capital is new. I mean, and for our community, right? We didn't get to engage in that space, even for myself. You know, it was scary taking that leap. But I think that when you think about that category, it's really diverse. So we work with both CPG brands, with consumer packaged goods, all the way to enterprise technology. And each one has a different way that the sausage is made, but at the end of the day, it's still a sausage. It requires series of rounds of funding and high potential for growth. The multiples of the valuation are different, but like it's just a science to the game. So what we do is we help those founders understand what that science is and connect them with the access to those opportunities for venture capital, as well as mentors and advisors. And we've had a great deal of success across the country. It started up in the Midwest, and we now made it down here to Arizona. And a really exciting time for the state. You know, there's so many different funding programs designed for people from disadvantaged categories. So the time is now to engage, but you really have to make sure you're educated. So that's where I advise, you know, going through different accelerator programs like Immersion. We have our upcoming accelerator program, and we're actually launching a grant program where we'll be able to essentially offer a scholarship for Black founders in Arizona to be able to go through this initiative. But there's a ton of them out there. There's Plug and Play. There's so many different groups that are really looking to engage Black founders and to teach them what it takes to be able to actually raise some money.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to go to general questions next. So these are going to be open to the entire panel to answer. And so I would just say, if you think you have an answer, you can jump right in. Let's see. How can minority business owners collaborate and provide support to one another effectively?
I would say one of the biggest things that I've seen in regards to collaboration is that we all create silos, no matter where we are from in our community, and everybody is working on something, and sometimes you end up creating competition within your own people. So I would say one of the biggest things we can do is understand like how to stay in a specific lane and be the best in your specific lane. And then from there, supporting each other And if you're in a specific vertical, say you're two people in banking or two people in consulting, there's not competition. That's a partner in the industry, right? I think that that's one of the biggest things I think that we need to get better at, from, especially from the Black community, is understanding where our pillars are and how to hold each other up, versus trying to create like separate tables.
Yeah, and I agree, Robin, with what Nathan said. And man, I want to go back and like applaud so much of what Dr. Velma and Nathan said over the last 10 minutes, right? But like, I'll give you a specific example. So we were sitting with a group of folks, and I'm here in Chicago, so I'm talking about a breakfast we held a couple of weeks ago. And there was a young business owner there that we've been talking about helping get opportunities in the landscape industry. And he was trying to figure out how we can get larger and more important contracts. And so at the table that day, we had one of the ladies from procurement from the Obama Museum, or largely the Presidential Museum, but they're doing the Obama Museum here in Chicago. And so I pulled him aside. I said, man, like, if you wanted to respond to that contract, would you do it by yourself or would you do it in collaboration with others, right? Because as a entity, he probably wouldn't get that opportunity, but in collaboration, there's a good chance that if he could demonstrate they have the capacity to both do typical landscaping, snow removal, and all the things that would be required around those facilities, right? And so, like, Robin, that's a mindset though. Like, a person has to decide as a business owner that that is okay, it is appropriate, and it is progressive, and it is sustainable for them to do that in this one instance and still understand they're going to go and continue to pursue opportunities of their own, right? And so guess what? Fast forward 30 days, they got the contract in partnership with a larger entity that's going to support them through the pieces that they can't provide. But now when they go and present to others, they can talk about the fact that they're doing landscaping for the Obama Museum here in Chicago, right? And so, like, those are the things that we just need to make sure that we are not just like saying in theory, but like those things are really appropriate and effective practices that are the foundation of how businesses scale and grow.
That's fantastic.
I echo that. That's actually how I got started. I actually got on a subcontractor to a state deal, and then it just snowballed from there. So like, I couldn't agree more. It's like, you can't get the big contract yourself. It's not possible.
Okay, so, and just because Nathan said that, I just need to go back to what he said earlier, which I think is extremely important. And he said, first off, if you're looking for funding, you need to ensure that your strategy matches the investment thesis of the institution you're pitching to. And if you don't actually know what that is, then that's your first responsibility, is to know what's important to them, right? And then he said you have to demonstrate the potential to return, the return on investment that is the expectations of that institution, right? So if I'm the investor and I have an expectation of a floor that I want as a return on my investment, then you have to have the capacity to show that, right? And my handwriting is bad, man. So I can't even sometimes read my own handwriting, Robin. But the last piece was about market conditions, right? And do you actually understand your product market fit and what your go-to-market strategy and your client acquisition of opportunity, so that there's a scalable, repeatable outcome from what you're telling them that you want, versus the idea that someone should invest in me because my business is a good idea, but I haven't gotten enough money yet to validate it. So give me money so I can prove it. Oh, okay. And this is where Tanika would tell me, yeah, Mikhail, be quiet now. So I'm going to be quiet.
Okay. We got so many great questions coming in. One of them is, other than MBE, what certification, and that's Minority Business Enterprise, what certifications can Black entrepreneurs obtain to improve opportunities to access? We have the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. We also have the Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So that's the DBE and the ACDBE certifications. So you can look those up, or you can reach out to one of the organizations that are being featured here for more information on those. Obviously, it's not a certification, but Impact AZ, that's about being ready. You know, certified is great, but you got to be ready to take on the business. So certainly reach out to the Millionaire Mastermind Academy and the Black Chamber if you want to learn more about Impact AZ. I see that Dr. Traham has already let everyone know we have a waiting list already for the 2024. And to give you a little backdrop, we had 122 people on the waiting list for this cohort before we even opened registration. We ended up doubling the size of the cohort based on the demand. And I think that was a great thing that we did. Here's another great question. I actually really love this one. How do we teach entrepreneurship to youth in the Black community? That's for everybody.
You know what? I'll start there. I have a 12-year-old entrepreneur, a son. And you know what? I think that it starts at home. I think that it starts with really educating our young entrepreneurs on what entrepreneurship really is and what ownership is really about. I think it's the only way out of poverty. Entrepreneurship is the way out of poverty. I was born and raised in poverty, but I thank God that today that I've been able to explore being an investor, explore investing in other companies, explore creating other entrepreneurs around the country. So I think that we can start with educating our youth on what entrepreneurship is and the pros and cons of entrepreneurship, and also instilling in them that, you know, the importance of having a stick-to-itness attitude, just like stick to it. You know, a lot of times people think that entrepreneurship is easy and they think that it's risky. Well, it's not risky if you know the information. It's not risky if you educate yourself on the business that you are entering into. So if we could do that, I think that we can create more young entrepreneurs, but it does start at home. My son is probably tired of me because we have entrepreneurship classes twice a week. And I just think that's what's needed.
So, but wait, Robin, I love what Dr. Velma just said, but I want to clarify what she said that I think is the important part of the conversation that I think we skip over. She said ownership versus entrepreneurship. Everyone is not meant to be an entrepreneur. And I'm sorry, I will be the guy on this call that gets those, you know, everyone is not built, but ownership is within everyone's capacity, right? And I think that like sometimes we blend those two things together. Equity, ownership, like making money is what we all are really talking about. Running businesses and that piece is actually built for a very different skill set of people. And as we talk to our youth, I think it is important that we help them understand both of those things. And how you accumulate wealth is actually through equity, regardless of whether you own the business or you're benefiting from someone else's success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that really the psychology of entrepreneurship, the psychology of being a leader is very different, because when you first start a business, it's exciting and it's beautiful and you start to generate revenues. But as you start to bring on employees, as you start to understand licensing, and then all of a sudden this politician can impact your business, you start realizing, wait, I have to be a lobbyist, a business owner, a father. You got to be all these things at once. And that's not what they tell you. They tell you that you're going to start this beautiful business. You're going to have a sign and you look at it every day and just smile. And that's just not how it is. You know, it really gets difficult. And then I think the last thing that I would say that's not really like a tangible thing is that I had to think about this is like, what is my done? You know, when am I done? Like, what does that look like? Because a lot of people, especially in the venture world, is you always start a business with a plan to leave it. So like you have to know what is enough for you, and where you're either going to pass the torch, which is what I've done, is like I know where I'm good at up to a certain amount of employees, and then I need to hand this to someone else. So if you could tell yourself that and be real with yourself about where you're the best at, you actually can have a really, really diverse business career, because you can know when you're done and then move on to the next thing and make a lot of money.
I think that's really good. And to add to that, one last thing, one thing that I encourage aspiring entrepreneurs to do, young entrepreneurs, is instead of looking at ownership as a way to make money, I look at the problem that you can solve. When you're solving a problem, you won't need money. Money will follow you. I think that a lot of people go into business based on the money they think they can make. Well, when you identify the problem that you're solving, then money will follow. And I think that's another thing that we can instill in young entrepreneurs. What problem are you solving?
You know, that's such a great answer, Dr. Traham. There is a very famous billionaire, and I'm not trying to promote his companies right now, but there's a very famous billionaire who says every company he's ever started has been because of a bad experience he had as a consumer of that product. So he solved the problem by creating a better company. We have just about 3 or 4 minutes left. I'm going to get this question out and see if we have time for everybody to answer it, because I think it's really relevant. So how do you review the impact of the current programs and whether businesses are receiving enough capital access to gain traction?
Well, I think that's at me. Okay, so I'll answer the question simply and I'll make it quick. Okay, so we don't evaluate it in a question of the amount of capital that a business should get. We evaluate it on whether or not they're getting more than what they had. So the definition of, hey, but I should have gotten, well, you know, that might be true, but let's get you on the path to making that statement a reality, right? And so all of those steps are all required. And here's the analogy I always try to help people to connect with. Like, no one would ever ask that question about buying a home, right? Because if I'm a homeowner, I qualify for a certain amount based on what I can prove and what I say is who I am. But as a business owner, the aspirational aspect of that is now expected to be taken into consideration and all logic be thrown out the window. And so what our goal is to help folks to understand that the steps along the way are all in the accomplishment of the what you should have goal. And we're not going to stop until you get what you should have, right? If that's not today, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We're still committed to getting you from where you are to where you want to be or where you should be. And let's get it done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, we've got 4 minutes. This is a really compelling question. If you guys think we can keep our answers within 4 minutes, I'm going to jump right into this one. Do you think initiatives or programs will shift based on the recent affirmative action ruling?
I mean, I would say from my feedback and as it relates to venture, I don't think much is going to change. It's just a mistake. I think at the end of the day, programs are going to keep moving forward. People are going to still support the causes that they believe in, regardless of what happens in office. I think the political theater is louder than the action. Like, I don't think it was that significant. So I don't think much will change. The people who are doing the work are going to keep doing the work.
I second that. You know, there's a lot going on. However, I think that from a perspective of doing the right thing, you know, companies are just doing the right thing. I do think that what it is going to do is expose organizations and entities that are looking for a way out. And I think that when it shifts, when the paradigm shifts, then you'll see who those companies are. So I would encourage socially responsible companies to continue to move the needle and do the right thing.
Yeah, and I would agree with everybody else, but I would also say in the national or international view of the question, the answer is yes, things will change. And just like Dr. Velma just said, we're already looking for reasons to bow out, and now they will. But those organizations that had no intention to use affirmative action as the justification for why they're doing what they're doing today, they'll still be here tomorrow. And that's the end of this. That's the only thing you can understand from the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Obviously, thank you to Taniqua Broughton for once again just delivering incredible data in collaboration with GPEC. Fiona Onyango, thank you so much for your incredible input. Dr. Velma Traham, that's my buddy. Thank you so much, Nathan Harris, Mikkel Quarles. This is incredible, but we've got to remember that data cannot exist in a vacuum. We can't just look at it and say, okay, that's the number. The purpose of data collection, and I learned this from Dr. Velma Trahan because she preaches it to me every day, but the data has to be actionable. We have to do something with it. It is incumbent upon all of us. These organizations, everyone you see here, we all work closely together, but it is incumbent upon all of us to improve the numbers that are deficient, as well as the numbers that are positively representative. We have to keep pushing forward. So I want to thank everybody for attending. We have a couple minutes, and Taniqua, I would love it if you would just say some final words. This has been an amazing event of yours. I'd love it if you just kind of take us home.
No, thank you so much, Robin, for moderating. We appreciate it so much in the partnership. And as Robin said, the collaboration between Dr. Velma Trahan, Mikkel, and Nathan, these are individuals that I talk to weekly and sometimes daily about the work that they're doing. Again, I want to lift up the slide that we shared in the beginning of all of the organizations, government entities, and leaders who are doing the work. Actionable data is what we choose to put in front of you so that you can respond. And I hope this dialogue today got you going in a great way. Mikkel, we had about a billion questions for you. And I just want to say to everyone, we will try to respond to those questions by saving them, and maybe you can reach out to Mikkel directly, and or we can take those questions and get them back to you in our follow-up.
No, make Ashley and Jose respond to those questions. They'll be fine.
Well, Ashley and Jose, you got work to do. So we will share that. But again, thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Mikkel. Thank you, Dr. Velma. And thank you, Robin. The state of Black Arizona is definitely here to help produce the synthesis of actionable data around those issues and concerns related to African Americans. You can download the full report. You can see it online. And again, to the GPEC team, the marketing team, Kristen, Coral, Lindsay, and Logan, thank you so much. So on with your day, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.